own additional references. Because like, even if they've given me a reference that they're in love with, I feel like, you know, half an hour on iTunes or YouTube or whatever, just kind of like clicking around and seeing if I can find kind of inspiration from things that I think could work. Sometimes I'll throw them in the session, I'll throw them under the picture and see like, oh, you know, this kind of beat could feel good, that kind of tempo could feel good. I mean, the most important thing when writing to picture is the tempo, in my opinion. Like, if you get the tempo right, you are like more than halfway there. Because so much of it has to do with pace and like sort of setting the tempo of the video. Because like, especially with commercials and stuff, things have to be like, you know, snappy and uplifting, and like, I don't know, so much of it is about finding the right tempo. So first it's all about figuring out if that reference is the right tempo. Is there a better tempo? Sometimes I'll just sit there, trial and error, just changing the tempo of the song and counting and watching the commercial, because I'll realize that, if I move it 5 BPM up this way, I can sync here, here, and here in ways that could feel natural. But then if I change the BPM like this, and I can sync in even more places that feels even in a way that feels more natural, where I don't have to do weird, you know, an odd bar of 3 or like some weird like tempo change or something, which I feel like a lot of composers won't spend that time playing, and they'll just program in a bunch of tempo changes, and just whatever they write just is in those tempo changes. I try to sort of avoid that when I can and stick to one tempo and see if I can kind of, I don't know, just roll the dice and land on something that feels
that
like
flows,
the right tempo.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I'm open to that like moment of play with the metronome where I'm just kind of like figuring it out.
Wow, yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I haven't composed for film or anything, but I did like a little sonic tag to like a short little video, like a, you know, like a 7-second thing, like, you know, like a logo that pops up before a video. It's like, how do I make something work with the flow of that like 7-second, you know, little video? It's like, okay, let's find the right tempo that make it like fit and feel right, you know?
Yep.
The tiny little nuance makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah. Tempo, key, things like that, you know, are just sort of like, usually when you sit down with an instrument and you start writing a song, you don't usually think like, oh, this should be 140 beats per minute and should be like C major, because everyone wants to just smile and clap their hands when they listen to it. But sometimes with composing, you got to sort of take these things into consideration. And then there are other times where just sitting down at an instrument and thinking about the commercial and playing, and you'll just like, I don't know, there were a lot of times where I would get a commercial and I would just like watch it a couple times and then take my ukulele outside and go sit in the sun and try and come up with 4 chords that feel good, and like come back inside and like, boom, it's just working, you know? So I would say that there are times to take that analytical sort of hyper-focused, let me lock into the perfect tempo. And then there are other times where it's like, wait a second, this is just music. It's just feel. It's just vibe. Like, maybe you shouldn't be so particular about certain things.
Right, I guess it just depends. So you've been like traveling the globe for like 2 years now, and doing, you know, composing, you know, making music, making films also. Like, so what's it like being a digital nomad as like a artist, like, you know, the 4-hour work week kind of guy? Like what's entailed there? Yeah,
so I was like living and working in LA, and I had my little studio set up, and I was mostly composing and also doing some video work where I was like directing music videos or creating videos for small companies, stuff like that. And then some of my work started I started getting opportunities in faraway places. I did a bunch of gigs in Hawaii. I did some gigs in like Southeast Asia, and that felt really good. You know, like being cooped up in the studio for so many years, staring at a computer, and then to get this job, like creating a video on a cacao farm in the jungle in Hawaii, or like creating some live album at a yoga retreat in Thailand. Like, I don't know, these things just really got my brain turning in a way of like, oh, this is like a cool way to exist. Like maybe not a cool way to live like forever, but just a cool way to spend some time where it's like you get to travel, but you're also working, but you're working in these really cool environments where you're with people and you're like interacting and you get to do cool stuff and go on adventures. And like, yeah, it made sense. So I started sort of seeking out those opportunities a little bit more. And I put out a music video in 2018 where I was the artist. I like produced, wrote the song, featured another artist on the song, and we decided to make this music video. And I directed the video, but I obviously had like a whole production team to shoot it and do all the costumes and makeup and everything. And like this was like the biggest passion project that I've done. You know, like I put my own money into it, and it was a big sort of investment for me. But from that, I got so many messages from people that I had met over the years that I had kind of worked with in the past. And then they saw this really, you know, high quality looking video that I had put so much time and energy in. And they saw me posting it on social media, and I started getting some, you know, this person over here is like, oh, could you do a music video? And then this person over here wants a music video. And it's like, I'm starting to like, oh, this could actually become something. And
it was like a tipping point for you. It's just like everything could start snowballing.
It was a total tipping point. And to be perfectly honest, that was the intention. Like the intention was, let me make the most beautiful thing that I could make so that potential people who are looking for someone who has the abilities that I have can see what I'm about. You know, like if I don't have anyone telling me what to do, what's the thing that I do? And it was kind of interesting to like make the album and make the music video and then look at it afterwards and be like, whoa, well, that's like what I would make without anyone telling me what to make. But the whole point of doing that was obviously to express myself creatively, because that's one of the ultimate drives in this whole mission. But the other major mission was letting people know what I'm trying to do and what my flavor is and what I can bring to it. And yeah, like I said, from that music video, a bunch of people reached out. That turned into like a couple of music videos that I lined up around the world, and then a couple of yoga retreat videos. I also got really connected in the yoga world. I produced some like mantra-based yoga music and made a couple of videos for different retreats and teachers, and that connected me with more retreats and more teachers. And in 2019, I was able to, I think I set off in like March and planned basically like a 6-month mission, but left a lot of open space to improvise. Well, actually, I should rewind a little bit. So 2018, I did a 2-month gig in Thailand and then broke my foot trying to hunt down a lost drone in the jungle. And so I was
sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I'm like laughing because it's the way you said it. But I'm sorry about your foot.
It's a ridiculous story. Drones are dangerous. Warning anyone out there who wants to fly a drone. If you crash it somewhere that is inaccessible by foot, don't try. And don't try too hard. Drones can be... I was concerned about the footage that was on it. I can always buy another drone, but I get so attached to the things that I'm filming if they're beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
That happened, and then that 2-month job in Thailand was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Then I came back to LA, was healing, and then as I was healing, I was booking these gigs around the world, and set off in March, and first did a music video in Portland, did a video in Hawaii, then went out to Bali, played at a music festival there, did a video in Bali. Went to Japan for 2 months, did like
nice
4 or 5 videos in Japan, recorded some music, then did Amsterdam, Wales, France, Greece, France again, Morocco, Spain, then back to America, traveled around America, had a couple of things there, and now I'm back in France. So it's been a crazy magic carpet ride, and there have been cool experiences all along the way where I just had to pinch myself and be like, whoa, I'm actually like getting to do this right now.
Wow. What is the craziest place you've been to?
Craziest? I mean, there's been I don't know, like I got to create a video for this yoga retreat in Bali at this resort called Bamboo Inda. And this is like a really expensive jungle resort where everything is made out of bamboo. Like these beautiful, huge buildings constructed of bamboo. And then like each person has like a little house that they live in. And you walk along these like paths and there's all these pools and like natural pools coming in off the river. And it's just like this lush, beautiful. So that was a pretty like crazy place to be and to be working. I mean, it was like hot and there was mosquitoes and I had to film like 12-hour days and it was super intense. But yeah, that was a cool one. I mean, Japan was crazy, but in a lot of good ways. I absolutely love Japan. I think that was like...
Same here, by the way.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite just because there were so many things about the culture that I resonated with in so many ways. And like the people and the musicians that I got to hang with out there are just like some of my favorite humans in the whole world. And I felt like even in 2 months, like... I don't know, felt like a real community out there, which was cool.
That's awesome. So what are you doing on these, like, you know, you're going off on the world basically for a year straight, and you're doing film and you're doing music, and so it's like, what do you take with you? What's your mobile rig? How do you make it work?
Yeah, so I have a MacBook Pro 2018 with like the solid state drive and all the RAM, and you know, souped it up all the way. Because I do edit in 4K and I run like big Pro Tools sessions with tons of software instruments. And then I've got a little Universal Audio Arrow, which I use as my audio interface. And that allows me to use just a handful of Universal Audio plugins. But for me, that's really important. Like I do use some UAD processing on the way in, like... doing a little bit of compression on the way in sometimes. And they have these like mic pre emulators that are really incredible that I use, which for travel, I mean, I'm not going to travel with a mic pre. That's just like an insane amount of weight for something that, I don't know, like I am maxed out on weight, and on like my luggage is, I can fit like an extra sandwich sometimes, and that's it. Like if I have to bring food on the plane, that's the one extra thing I can put in there, but I can't buy any souvenirs beyond like a piece of jewelry or something that's tiny, you know? Yeah.
Wild.
So yeah, that's the interface. And then I've got one microphone. Like I said, I got the Neumann KM184, the little condenser mic, which I usually use in the studio for just acoustic instruments. But I felt like it was the smallest, lightest, most versatile mic that I could bring. And I mean, I've done songs where I used it on vocals and like have made it work, you know? It's not ideal, but can make it work. I scored an entire Disney commercial in Japan in a hotel room with this tiny little condenser mic and an acoustic guitar. You know, and like got it to a place where it sounded good enough that they accepted it.
Yeah, okay.
So there's
everybody listen out there.
Yeah, you know,
you don't need much.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's just about, I don't know, like after producing for so many years and spending so much time on creating music, it's like there are lots of little shortcuts and there are lots of ways to make it sound great, that you don't need an incredible room with an incredible mic and an incredible instrument, you know? Like sometimes you just need a pretty decent idea and a pretty decent execution and, you know, EQ, reverb, and compression, and you're most of the way there.
Amazing. How are you monitoring? You just have like headphones, or you take speakers with you?
So just headphones. I have 3 pairs. I've got like the Apple earbuds, which I reference with sometimes. I've got like the nicer in-ears that I use a lot. And then I've got some over-the-ear like noise-canceling headphones, which are essential for me on the airplane. But you know, I do use them when I'm making music sometimes, but it's a pretty bad idea to use noise-canceling headphones when you're recording music.
Oh, yeah? There's like static.
Well, if you use them to monitor when you're playing an acoustic instrument, it's trying to cancel and play the same sound at the same time. So you get this gnarly distortion, especially if you try and do something like drums, like you're going to just destroy those headphones and your ears at the same time.